Hello everyone and welcome to the EMK Nights Gaming channel. I'm Wizard Ken, and today I'm going to be doing another video on World of Tanks beta for the Xbox 360. Now I usually do these videos just for the updates that come out and tell you guys what's new, what's not new and stuff like that. But just because I've had so many questions about different things, this is probably going to be a very long video. Probably, I actually recorded this once and my recorder died on me. And so I had to restart it again. So it was about 45 minutes the first time, so it's probably going to be about that much, maybe a little bit shorter because I can sum up some of the things a little bit quicker this time. So a couple of things we're going to go over is basically we're going to be talking about whether to use your gold for premium time, which is basically you make your account premium for a day, depending on how much gold you put down, and it gives you 1.5 times experience in gold during the whole day, which is pretty much 50% more than what you usually get. And we're going to be talking about whether to do premium time or to use that 250 gold like I have right now as converting it into experience points right off the bat. So since we're going to talk about that, let's go to that first. But before we start, the rest of the agenda is going to be this, just in case you guys don't want to watch the video or you want to skip forwards and stuff like that. After we talk about this, we're going to be talking about, first we're going to go to the American line, and we're going to talk about one of the most famous questions I get: where do I go from the M3 lead? Do I go to the T1 heavy or do I go to the M4? The next thing I'm going to be talking about is I'm actually going to go through all the different, not every single tank, but I'm going to tell you basically, you know, if you want to play like I do, what tanks I would suggest to play with, the benefits of the lines and stuff like that, and whatnot. Now this is just to help you guys out with playing the game. Really it's up to you guys on which tanks you want to play with, but really for you new guys that are getting out there and you're realizing some of the tanks aren't as great as what they appear to be and stuff like that, or you just have no clue what to go down, I'm going to be talking about that because let's be honest guys, you get down a line, you've done 4 or 5 tanks, have been okay, and you're hoping like the 6th or 7th one's going to be even better, and they become crap. So we're going to talk about that. Anyways, let's talk about premium time and converting experience. Now, this is going to be straight to the line, no BSing, this and that kind of thing. It's going to be basically my personal opinion on it and a lot of other people that I've played with and their personal opinion on it. Now, right now that we're in beta, the gold doesn't mean anything to us. I mean, you're not paying money for it, so what you do with it is up to you. But since we do get that option of actually having the gold all the time with beta, 250 a day, then my opinion to you is going to be this. If you are playing with tanks that you can't get past, or you're having a hard time, you're not building up the experience that you would like, I would say go ahead and convert that experience every single day until you get past that tank or you get the better gun that you need for that tank. Reason why is because I've gone through tanks that have taken me way too long to get through, and without doing this would have taken me a lot longer. Also, for you people that don't get to play the game all the time, maybe you get to play it for maybe 30 minutes at a time, this is good for you guys too, because you're never going to make that experience points unless your tank is really good to use it on. So there would be no reason for you to be premium if you're only going to be playing 30 minutes that day. So that would be the only times I would convert experience, because you get at least 6,250 out of it, if I remember right, and we'll just do that. Yeah, 6,250. Now, buying premium, the benefits about that is, okay, usually on my tanks, like we'll just say the T29, okay, If you do your premium time, especially on today, you've got ×3 experience, but we'll just keep it at ×2. Okay, I spend my money on premium time, and I win my first battle. Now, you have to look at yourself and how you usually do with the tank. You know, I would say 90% of the time I'm pretty decent with the T29. I usually score in the top 5, and I get a good amount of experience points. So, and we'll just say I usually occur without premium just with the ×2, the first win of the day, anywhere between 2,000 to 3,000 experience points. So that's a good amount. Now, if you have the ×3, especially on the weekends, and you have your premium time, you know, I could usually get 5,000, 6,000. I've even seen 6,000, almost 7,000 in one game. The reason is just because of how I played and stuff like that. Now, right there, one game has already surpassed what I would have spent with, you know, the gold for converting it. Well, say maybe you're not the most amazing, you still come in 5th or 6th, and you usually get about 1,000 or 2,000. Even then, one game you should get boosted up to 3,000, 4,000 with the ×3 and the experience, the premium. So right there, you're almost there. And if you play, you know, if you do decent the next 2 games, you're surpassed what you were going to make anyways, just converting it. So basically, the converting ratio for experience is not the same. Like, it's crappier. It's basically, the premium time is a lot more valuable than the converting. It's just like stock exchange. You know, one day the dollar might be more than, you know, something else, the euro, and the next day it's not. You know, in this thing, it never changes in that sense. Your gold, unless they change it themselves, the Wargaming changes it. The gold is never going to be there. It's never going to be converted as much as what you would do as premium time. So that being said, like I said, if you're not going to be able to play it very long that day, only 30 minutes, then you're better off just going ahead and doing your converting your gold to experience. Now, like I said, if you're going to be able to play it a lot longer, then it's more beneficial, especially on the weekends. So let's jump straight into this. We're going to be going through the tanks, like I said. Actually, before I do that, we're going to go into another part that people have asked me about. It's going to be about the consumables. Now, people have asked me, what consumables should I get? And are the bigger ones that cost gold even better? Yes and no. The large repair kit and first aid and you know, fire extinguisher and stuff like that are great. The cola does not help us at all, and the octane does a little bit, but it's not. I wouldn't really do it because it can actually blow your engine and stuff like that being used. Anyways, the large repair kits, as you can see, they give you a benefit. They give you a plus 10% to quick repairs on all modules. The first aid gives you 15% plus protection to your crew from critical damage. Basically, when you get a critical hit, they might not die. Automatic fire extinguisher, 10% chance of not getting on fire. All great stuff. But the thing is, say you have this large repair kit and you use it. That's it. When you use it, you lose your plus 10 to repairing quickly. So if you were tracked in the middle of battle and you used it, and then you used it to get out of a situation that you were going to get blown up in, well, now you just spent 50 gold on something you used instantly, and now you've lost your 10% 10% repair time, and you also just lost 50 gold. So my opinion on all this, these things are great if you're never going to use them. Like, you're never going to sit there. If you get tracked, you're just going to take the hits and die. Me personally, I prefer all of these things. They cost 3,000 each every time you do use them. And, you know, these things are, oops, I screwed up on that. I don't know why. I accidentally changed my stuff out. Oops. Now, don't want that. Oh, almost made a huge mistake there. What was I gonna say? Anyways, the smaller ones are 3,000 each of silver. You could use them and you can keep going. So, especially if you're in a tight spot, you get tracked, you could use it and get the heck out of there. Fires, same thing. I know a lot of you guys have seen yourself get on fire, especially a lot of the tank destroyers on the German line. Their engines are in the front, and they're very easy to just make them catch on fire, and stuff like that. So these, me personally, are the best to go with. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about, let me switch these around because this is going to annoy me if I don't. I like these being in certain orders because then I know which button to click and to get to them quicker. Next thing about, now a lot of people are like, oh, we can get armor piercing rounds. They cost gold and silver now, and now we can penetrate no matter what. Blah 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 blah. We're dominating. Well, yes and no. Now, what I'm going to do is subtract some of these, and we're going to show you the difference. Now, the gold rounds are good to have, but not a whole bunch. 7's a good amount. Reason why is 12 gold is a lot, and you're like, oh, I'm not stupid enough to use gold. Well, we convert this to silver by hitting Y. That's 4,800 for a round, not for 7 rounds, for 1 round. Okay, so say we used all of these, you know, we'll just show you right now. We use all of these on here. That's 268,800 a match. Now, I don't know about you, but with your tank being destroyed possibly, or most of the time probably is, and the amount of rounds you use, we'll just say we use, you know, 20 rounds, which I've already had 7 in here. You know, which realistically you're going to use more than 20 rounds probably, but we'll just say 20. So let's just add quite a few on here. You know, right there. That's 96,000 a game. Now, if you have a really shitty game, you used 20 rounds, you just lost 96,000 plus how much it takes to repair your tank. So, like I was gonna say, it would be retarded for you to sit here and use tons of these gold rounds, because it just realistically you just don't have the money for it. Unless you have tons of money and you just don't care about it, then that's fine. But even then, I mean, I've ricocheted gold rounds. I've missed gold rounds, like I've shot over somebody when I tried to hit them. So really, just use these, a good number of 7. That's just in case you do get put up against higher tiers that you can't penetrate, and at least then you have a chance. But majority of the time I stick with just armor piercing rounds. Sometimes I do buy the high explosive rounds, but not usual. In the sense of like some of my tanks, most of them don't use anything. Anyway, so let's get to this. One of the things I wanted to talk about is what tanks to go down. Like I said, first we're going to start off with the, you know, where do I go from the M3 Lee? Do I go to the M4 or the T1? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm usually, I once you hear my next part where I talk about all the different lines, all the different fractions like Germany or, you know, the American lines or the British lines to go down, I'm pretty reasonable on them. But in this instance, I'm going to be harsh on the tanks. The T1 Heavy and the M6 are shit. Okay, I'm sorry, but anybody that's probably ever played, if someone has liked them, then they're stupid. They're fucking stupid. And they say they like them, they're fucking stupid, because these are the worst tanks you could ever get. Yes, they're heavy tanks, but they're not worth it. They're fucking ridiculous. They're not worth anything. They're gonna take you a lot longer to get through than it would for the M4 and the Jumbo Sherman. These two tanks, when I was going through, gave me trouble to fight against, and they were giving other people trouble when I was playing them. So, to be honest with you, I would stick with the medium line. Then, once you get there, you could decide where you want to go, if you're going down the medium heavy line. So, that being said, let's get to the part of the thing that's going to take a little bit. Now, we're going to start up at the top and work our way down. Artie, as you know, is the most annoying thing on the game. You sit there, you're taking a lot of people out, and you get killed once by Artie. Artie is a terrible beast to go against, in the sense of long range. Once you're spotted, you're pretty much dead. They can do a lot of devastating hits. As you can see on this one, if we're looking at the amount of damage it does, 2,250. That's an amazing amount of damage, and it's great for taking people out. Now, but the thing you have to realize is, and I've played Artie, I've gone all the way up to the M41, which is right here. The problem with this is that the Arties, unless you do really good, even when you do really good, you maybe get 1,000 or 2 a game, and that's if you're lucky. And usually Artie is not very lucky in that sense. And so, let's just put it this way. It takes you twice as long to get through the Artie line than it would for you to get through a heavy line, medium line, or a tank destroyer. Plus, going back to the T92, which is a devastating Artie. I haven't really faced him too much, but he's devastating from what I've seen him do. If you look at the rate of fire, and that's going to be underneath the 240mm howitzer, the gun that he uses, right underneath the rate of fire, rounds a minute, 1 round a minute. Now, don't get me wrong, his accuracy is 0.92 and 0.61, which is pretty much, he's going to hit where he's hitting at. But the thing is, you guys have played enough of these matches, or if you haven't, you'll notice that sometimes Artie can get killed in a few minutes. Once they're spotted, the other Artie's going to knock them out, or a light tank's going to come up and piss them off and take them out. So 1 minute, 60 seconds, guys. It's going to take you that long to reload. Plus, aiming time, 8 seconds. Might not sound like that long. It's still a long time. It's a lot better than the other Arties, but it's going to take you a long time to reload. And like I said, the research, 2,701, 271,000. That's just ridiculous amount to have to pay for an Artie. Anyways, so my opinion, if you really love Artie, have fun with it. I mean, it's fun to play, but good luck on getting up there. If you get there, awesome. Now, right now, we're going to go over the tank destroyers, medium tanks, and heavy tanks. Now, I'm kind of combining all of these on the American side because these are the tanks that I seriously hate. Okay? The reason I hate them, and I'm going to tell you another thing I do, and this is going to be in our next video. I've got to get a new recording software and a new recording device because the one I'm using now, it's very touchy. It doesn't like to record all the time, and I spent 45 minutes on this last time and it didn't want to record. But the next video I want to do is going to be with me, Bubba, and hopefully with Woodstock. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you how we play team-based. Now, the thing about team-based is not just that we're playing together and we know how each other play. That's very beneficial, and you'll see that we know how each other play, we know how each other work, we know every single map and how we're going to run it usually. I mean, we'll still ask each other how we're going to play it, but we usually play it the same way. But the thing about it is, like, what I would express to you guys is that if you have someone, especially if you're from tiers, I would suggest from tier 7 on up. If you're on a tier 7 and your buddy has a tier 9, let him play with the tier 9 and you play with the tier 7. Now you guys are thinking, oh god, he's crazy, what the hell is he thinking? The reason why I tell you to play with a tier 7 with a tier 9 is because you're going to get matched with tier 10s. Okay? Now the great thing about doing that is this, and this is the greatest secret that you'll ever learn. The best way to learn how to play this game is to get blown up. And the best way to do that is by going against a tier 10. Anybody can go against the same tier and last a while. But for you to learn how to maneuver this tank that you're using, how to learn the maps, because then you're going to know where you can run to, what your height is, and what things can protect you from different bullets from a tier 10. Basically, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you've watched Dodgeball, that's the whole saying, is that if you can dodge something that's a lot bigger, a lot harder, then you're going to be able to destroy the competition that's your same tier. I've been playing with Bubba for a while, and I've been playing with him when he's a tier 9. And Woodstock's a tier 8. And we play against some massive tanks. And I can tell you this. A lot of people sit there and they say, well, there's no way a T-29, which is what I use, can destroy a T-110. He'd get blown up. Not exactly. Playing with different tiers allows you to learn their weaknesses. And it allows you to use those weaknesses against them. I could tell you this right now. I can go against a T-110. I mean, I hate him. I still am afraid of him. But I can tell you this. I can give him a run for his money if I have it, depending on where I'm at. And especially if I have either Bubba or even just Woodstock with me. We can give him a run for his money. Most of the time. Now, there's chances that sometimes our plan doesn't work out and he kills me in one hit. But a lot of times, I've learned enough that, you know, we've been able to place it, and I haven't done that with the PC version. The PC version, I usually try to stay in the same tier, but with this, I wanted to try something different, experiment, and see what happens. And I tell you this, it's made me a lot better player, going against higher tier players. And plus, guys, the satisfaction of somebody, I have gotten hate mail after hate mail, Bubba has, and Woodstock, of just people hating us because we kill them so quickly. Or that they've sat there and they've tried to kill us the whole time and we destroy them, and they're saying we're cheating and that we're doing things. No, we've just played enough of these tanks that we understand where their weaknesses is, and that is how you play the game. And you know, a lot of these guys, when they get to tier 10, they get cocky, and I know I'm going to be cocky once I get to T110. I mean, I'm going to be like, at first, I'm going to be running out there just being stupid. But after that, I'm going to get myself under control, and I'm going to be playing against people. And I'm going to get back to what I would be playing as T29. But the thing is, even when I'm being cocky, at least I know when I played with the T29, I know where all these guys' weaknesses are. So, that's something you need to think about. Now, going back, like I was saying, the T110 E3 Tank Destroyer is a very devastating tank. You know, it's not as strong as some of the Tank Destroyers you would get at the end, but it is really one of the dangerous Tank Destroyers out there. It's got a decent speed on it, it's got decent armor on it. As you can see, the speed on it is 24. It's not as fast as some of the Tank Destroyers out there, but it's still a decent amount. The gun does about 850 damage, which is still not as much as some of the other ones do, but you know, this tank, unlike others, is not, you know, it's very rounded, and so it's going to ricochet a lot of things, so it's a lot harder to kill. So I would suggest that line. The problems you're going to have going up this line, and this is the other thing I want to do too, is while I'm talking about which tanks you might want to go for, is the tanks that are going to hold you up a lot. And the Wolverine and Jackson, though they are great at spotting tanks, as you can tell in the right side corner, the Wolverine, the armor and especially the life is very terrible on it. And even the gun's not the most amazing. The Jackson, you get a little bit better on everything. It's still just not the greatest. The thing going for you is basically you got to think of yourself as a sniper going against a squad. A sniper's not going to stay in one spot, or he's not going to conceal, not conceal himself. He's not going to go out into the battle and just fight everybody on one-on-one like that. He's going to stay out in the distance and shoot, and that's the best thing you could do with the Wolverine and Jackson. But once you get to the T25, T28, T95, those are going to be better on being able to do kind of a frontal assault and be able to take some damage. T95, I don't know if you guys have seen them fight, and hopefully we'll get some on the next video. But I've seen them take 600, 700, 800 damage out of tanks, and it's been devastating. The next tank, and this one Bubba has played with, and has liked severely. The reason why is that this little guy, not only does he get a 105 gun that does a decent amount of damage, it does 390, penetration 268. But what I want you guys to look at is his speed. That thing goes 45 kilometers an hour. Now you guys are like, well, okay, that's great, but it's not very powerful. It is a powerful tank. Okay, this thing's a short, fast, stubby tank. It's not like small like a light tank, but think of it like a light tank. This thing is going around the screen 45 kilometers an hour. It's not as fast as the, some of these faster light tanks that go like 60, but still 45 is really fast for a tier 10 that has that much firepower. It also, it doesn't have the most amazing armor, but it does have a decent amount of life. Still 2,000. I believe the T110 E5 is 2,200, so a little bit more than this one. But the thing is, if you the turret speeds on most tanks can't keep up with this thing. So if you can go around on a tank and take them out, my God, you're gonna kill them. So anyways, the medium line on the Americans, I'm not even gonna go through them. The reason why is because really the only problem you might have is the M4. And it's not a bad tank. That's why I'm not going to sit there and say you're going to have a huge problem. It's just going to take a little bit of getting used to on how to position yourself in the tank and stuff like that. You've got to use that front, that upper plate to be able to ricochet things a little better. Once you get through the T20, and sorry, I have a cold. That's why I stopped talking. Usually I have to get a drink of water, so. Okay, but the T20, Persian, M46 Patton, anybody that goes down the medium line on the Americans are going to be very happy. So that's an excellent choice. I didn't go down it because I wanted to go down to T110 because Bubba had already done the the medium tanks all the way up to tier 10. So I've already gotten to play with those before and stuff. So now. The T110, one of the most devastating tanks out there. I love this tank dearly. First, we're going to look at the gun. The amount of damage it does might not be as much as the tank destroyers, about half the tank destroyers. But tank destroyers that's it, tank destroyers. These things are supposed to be for basically frontal assaults in the sense they're the the army of the in the tank life. Basically, they're the guys, the grunts, they're the Marines that go in there and try to take people out. The mediums are more like the supporting class. and front lines, and tank destroyers are like your snipers, and of course artillery is your artillery. But this thing with the 120, which is an amazing gun because on the Russian side they have a 122. It's a little bit bigger, does a little bit more damage, but the 120 still allows a decent amount of penetration and damage on most tanks. So it's got that going for it. Aiming time 2 seconds, amazing. But this is the next thing you need to look at on this. Go down and look on the left side at the speed, 37. That is a decent speed for the tank. Also look at the design of it. You know, it's not it doesn't have very up and down structures on it really too much. It's all pretty much angled in every single way. So this tank is very powerful and can ricochet a lot of things. The downside is the lower plate of it is very vulnerable and is easily hurt. Now the T-29, when I go against this thing, I'm definitely going on its sides. I had to track him first and then go on his sides and keep moving around him. Usually he does kill me if I'm by myself, but that's just because, you know, he's quick. The T-29 is not that fast of a tank. The only problems you're gonna have through here, and like I said, is the T1 M6, which we already discussed them. They're just shit, so don't even go down those. And if you have started on them, either go back to the M4 and start again, or just deal with it and push through it, guys, because it's a crappy tank and the M6 is not any better. Once you hit the T-29, you guys are going to be happy as hell. I mean, I still use that tank all the time. I just got 44,000 built up on it, just on XP to spend on whatever, if I wanted to convert gold. Bubba, I think, has a couple 100,000 on there because he uses it still. This is one of those tanks you want to keep forever. It's a great tank just to play with. T-32, you're going to have problems with that at the beginning. Reason why is because you have a small gun all the way through until you get to the last upgrade. Woodstock, who I play with, plays with this a lot because he's trying to get the M103. Reason I haven't bought it is, yeah, of course, the money. I mean, I had to research for it already. It's just I've been debating whether even to go down this line because, trust me, I would love to get to the M103. It's a very lovable tank. Another one that I would keep. But the T-32, like I said, is just a grueling getting through these first two guns. I mean, you know, the first gun on it, as you can see, does only 240 and 170 penetration. Now you can shoot a lot more, but with some of the bigger tanks, it, you know, you gain nothing on this. These first two upgrades, except for the first upgrade, which is just your armor on the top, the turret, the engine, and the tracks, which do help you out a lot. But this is what you're going to be looking for: the 105 gun. Now you go from, what was the beginning, 170 to 240 to 198 to 320. Now, it might not seem like a significant upgrade, but the 105 gun is a very devastating gun. I've seen Woodstock take out a lot of people with it, and you know, you can compete with some of these bigger tanks. Not amazingly, because the armor still sucks on it, but it's still a decent tank. Now, the German line. I'm going to show you right now. I have not gone down any of these except the light tanks, and we'll get to that in a second. And I didn't really explain the light tanks either, because the light tanks really, if you want to go down that, that's more of like, I would say they're an important role, but they're more for fun. They're good for spotting enemies, helping your team out, which is great when you have a partner that has arty and they need somebody to go out there and spot. You are definitely the person to be. Same thing, arty on this one. These are still devastating instruments of the game, but like I said, having to pay the experience points for them. Germans is not as much, but you know, actually I think they are a little bit. Yeah, I think they're about the same. Let's check that real quick again. Okay, they're a little bit cheaper. But anyways, as I was saying, the Artie has a really devastating gun, 2,000 hit points. It's really good, but you gotta look at that rate of fire. One round for a minute, that's life and death situation, guys. You gotta remember, you can get blown up pretty quick if you're not in a good spot. And that's where just knowing your map and stuff like that. But it's just gonna be grueling to get up there. Now the tanks I would do if I did go down these lines is the E100 and the E50. Reason why is these are very hard tanks to kill. E50 is not too bad. His sides are still pretty weak, but the E100, look at his, on the right side of the screen, you see his health, you see his attack, and then you see his defense, his armor. This guy is very well protected on all fronts, pretty much. He's just, he's just a devastating tank. 750 per shot. Now I have a friend that has a T110, tier 10, T110 American tank, and he hates going against these things because if that thing tracks him before he's able to get scooting around him and stuff like that, it's very devastating. Now the rounds though, 3 rounds a minute is still kind of crappy, even with you know, all the upgrades you can get for it. But I would still be willing to play it. The E50, not as bad in the sense of rounds. You can still shoot 6 and 390 damage, 270 penetration. The thing about this tank is the upper plate is amazing. It takes a lot of shots. It can ricochet a lot of things. That's the greatest thing about this tank. E50 and E50M are both like that. They're very devastating tanks. So they're really good tanks to get. The tank destroyers, in this sense, you know, it's still a decent tank. It does a lot of damage, but 2 rounds a minute. This one I still don't have a lot of problems with because I can still get around it and kill it. The turret doesn't move, so if you can get beside it, it's done for. And I'll show you some techniques hopefully on the next video where I sit myself next to a tank destroyer and stop him from being able to move, and then I just aim my turret at the back end of him and I just keep popping him. The only problems you're gonna have down this line is really all the way up to the Panther 2. I could still penetrate the front of that with the T29. I've done it before. It's just not as easy as a Jack Panther. So until you get up to the Jack Panther 2, it's not gonna, you know, the tank destroyers on this line aren't the greatest. On the heavy tanks on the German line, I don't like any of them until even the E75 I don't care for. He's still a pretty decent tank to go against even with the T29. But he's not unstoppable. So those all the way up this line, I just think they're crap. Now the medium tanks, same way. I hate all of them except for the E50 and E50M. I think all the way through here you're just gonna have problems with them. You know, unless you learn the tank and stuff like that. But just remember, a T29 can take these things out. So keep that in mind. You're not unstoppable. Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at, is that you gotta remember your tanks are not indestructible. You know, if they were indestructible, there'd be no point in playing the game. But the point of the matter is what tanks to go down that you can decently play without getting destroyed as easy. And most of these, even the Tiger 2, I mean, he gives me problems, and the Tiger gives me problems if they get the first shot on me and they can stop me from being able to advancing and getting them on their weak spots. But a lot of these guys right here, and you'll see that in the game, I'll either blow out their engine or I'll take out their ammo racks. And if you guys have ever been blown up because your ammo rack or caught on fire, it sucks. So that's why I always tell you guys, you know, you need to get your make sure that you have fire extinguishers, repair your health, and for your guys if they die, and also a repair equipment so you can repair your tracks or your guns. Because the reason why I talk about repairing your equipment is because once you get to going against the British tank destroyers, this is why I suggest you having things to repair yourself and to make sure that your men stay alive. The British line right now, the tank destroyers are very dominant. I would say over anything on the game. Maybe not too much heavy tanks when like some of the higher tier heavy tanks, but even the T-29 I have problems with everything from the AT-8 all the way up through. I've had problems with fighting these things. The reason why is, I know I can't buy this thing. I hit the wrong button. Is if you look at the picture on the AT-7, okay? Now this goes all the way up to the AT-15 and AT-2. They all have the same basic body style. But if, and I'm sorry I don't have a pointer to point this stuff out, so I'm going to explain what I'm looking at. If you look at the tank, you can see on the turret he has two guns, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the right is a little bit longer than the one on the left, if you can tell by the picture. But if you go up the right side and you go up to the top of the turret, basically if you were looking down on Arnie, you would see just the top. You see this big round thing sticking up. Now, the big round thing that's sticking up is the hatch, which if the men were realistic, they would be getting in and out of to be able to enter the tank. That is the weakest spot on this tank if you cannot get on its sides, or if you don't have a tank that's big enough to destroy the front end of these things. These things were designed to be able to go through the enemy lines with no problems. As you can see right now, it's, you know, conceived as an assault breakthrough tank. You know, these things were used to just plow through the front lines basically, without getting damaged too much. But that, the top right there, the hatch, is what you want to aim for. That is very weak. The T-29 can take it on all the way up to the AT-15. Once you get up to the Tortoise, as you can see, his hatch is pretty much gone. That flawn thing is gone, and so the sides are pretty much the only thing you can take out with the T-29. I'm using the T-29 as an example because it's a halfway, you know, it's a pretty powerful tank, and it's halfway decent against the higher tiers. But these two tanks, the FV-215B and 183 and the F-215B, are just, even if I get them on the sides, they're very devastating. They're just kind of like the German E-100. They're very hard to kill, even if you get them on the sides. They're very powerful. But really, to be honest with you, on the tank destroyers, you're not going to have any problems. Even the AT-2 is not that bad of a tank to go up. You can still see the hatch on the top. It's not that hard to hit. It's not as big as the other ones, but it's still pretty easy to hit. But until you get to AT-2, the rest of these are really shitty, and they get blown up pretty easily in battles. The rest of them from AT-2 on up, or I would say AT-8 on up, are really worth fighting for. And if I could, if I would or if I could, I would go with the Tank Destroyer line. Now, the heavy tanks on here, to be honest with you, I'm going up it, and it's not the most amazing line to go up, to be honest with you. You know, and I'll explain that in a second. But anyways, the FV2-15B is a very powerful tank. It's very hard to kill. You know, there's not really any weak spots on it except on the sides and stuff like that. There's not much to really shoot at. The front of it is angled, and then that's it. Like, there's nothing to really shoot on it. Unless you have a bigger tank, you're not going to probably penetrate it too much. Not as much armor as the E100, but pretty still decent. Now let me get to this. I never had problems all the way through the mediums. The Matilda was great. This is where I started having problems with Churchill 1, Churchill 7, and the Black Prince. Now, the reasons you have problems with these, if you have them, is look at this thing. This thing's a boat on the screen. It's slow. It's only top speed of 26 kilometers per hour. The gun on it is horrifying in the sense of damage. But the benefits of this gun, and I'll show you this real quick once you get up to the bigger one, is this. It shoots 12 rounds a minute. So even though you're not doing as much damage and much penetration, you get to shoot twice the amount as most people. On the 75, you get 20 rounds a shot. So they're not bad. It's just with these, I would say they're not terrible tanks like the T1 or the M6. These are more like tanks you just have to be able, that you have to just play with and learn their strengths and weaknesses. If you're fighting against them, easy. Track them, shoot them in their sides. Even an angled shot can usually go in some of these. The Churchill 7 has a little bit more decent gun in the tiers that it plays with. But I believe like the Black Prince and I'm sorry if I don't pronounce this right, the Caernarvon, whatever. These two tanks right here are very, I think their guns on there are just crap for the tier that they're in. I have the Black Prince, I have the highest gun in there, and I will show you right now. It does 150 damage and 171 penetration. It's not that amazing. The only thing good about it is if you can get on the side of tanks, but usually for me to get on the side of tanks, I have to be able to move and get up there. And this tank is not fast at all. It shoots 12 rounds a minute, which is still really nice for that size tier, but like I said, I'm only going 20, you know, and speed. It sucks. So I have a difficult time getting up to this next tank. Now Bubba has the next tank, and he doesn't mind it, but even with the biggest gun, which he does have, it does a decent amount of damage and penetration. It does reload pretty quickly, but he still has the same problem of, look at this, its speed is only 34, so it's a little bit faster. Actually, it's 14 kilometers faster, but still not the most amazing, because if you look at his hit points, he's only 1,500, and his armor is not the most amazing. It's only got like a 130 in the front. So a lot of people have complained about these tanks, but they're really not that hard to take out if you know what you're doing. You know, and even when you get to the Conqueror, it still does not go up any on the whole armor. The turret is a lot better. The guns on this one actually get a lot better. You get the 120, which does a lot of damage. So, and then once you get up to the FV, you're doing the same amount of damage, but you've got a bigger tank and it's able to take a lot more punishment. But so basically, in the end, you know, this is not a bad line to go down if you're an experienced player. The British line, I would just say, is not good for anybody that's new to the game. I would suggest highly going down the American line until you get to the T29, in that sense, or the T20, where you get to start playing against these big boys, and you start getting to learn how to fight harder, a lot harder tanks. That's where you're going to learn all your experiences once you get to tier 7. And that's just my opinion. Everything else up through here, you can still make pretty good amount of mistakes. T20, once you get to tier 7s, that's when mistakes are deadly. You know, I'm not saying any other tier is not deadly, but this is the one where you're gonna get where a little mistake, because look how much I have to pay for like the M103, the experience, 168,000, and look how much just the T32 in the sense of silver costs, 2 million. So if you keep screwing up on the T29, you're never gonna have enough silver built up because you're not getting the points that you need to be able to do it. It's gonna take a very long time. So learn your tanks, and then once you get better, then I would suggest going down the British line. The German line, like I said, we've already talked about that. Not the most preferable one that I would go with, but if you guys want to go with my opinions, then American lines and the British lines are the best to go with. I'm sorry this video is so long. It's 51 minutes in. Two things I want to say before we end this video. Next video will hopefully be up shortly. I'm going to be doing it with Bubba and hopefully Woodstock, like I said, so we can show you guys the difference. You guys have seen me play by myself, but you haven't seen me play with players that I'm experienced with and can do a lot with, and you guys can see how differently that can change the battle. Now, we might not be amazing on the recordings, and I'm not going to try to, you know, just wait until we have like a really good streak of winning. I'm going to be playing it, and just whatever happens, happens. You know, I'm not going to cut and paste and see whichever battles were the best and put them in there. I'm going to just play it straight up so you guys can see how we play. Because even if me and Woodstock and Bubba are doing great, if the rest of our team is sucky, it's just going to go shit anyways. But at least we could show you, you know, kind of how we work, how we've learned the maps, how we read each other, how we know how each other work, and we work it together. Now, the thing also I want to mention is if you guys want more help, even after this video, I have no problems with that. The only thing I ask is that you subscribe to our gaming channel and you know, help us out, tell your friends, stuff like that. That really helps us out a lot. The other important thing is if you want my help, is like I said, subscribe to our channel, and you know, my gamer tag is GuitarPlaying55. You can see it right now next to my gold. Sending me a message, letting me know, you know, that you subscribe to us. I'll look up your name, either put it in the message on Xbox Live, or send me a message over YouTube. If you can't subscribe, we'll talk about it. You know, I'm not gonna get after you if you're like a younger kid, which some of the people that come to me are younger kids, and you know, their parents don't want them subscribing to YouTube. That's fine. You know, as long as you watch my videos, that's all I care about. If you can, and stuff like that, and you just tell your friends about us. But I'm willing to work with you and stuff like that. Just if I do jump on and you want to play, that's fine. I'll play with you. Just don't expect me. And I know some of you guys have wanted me to play with you, and then you're doing something else. If I'm there and I'm able to play, that's when I'm going to play. I'm not going to sit around and wait for people. I've got, you know, my own tanks I have to build up, and also other people wanting help and stuff like that. So my time is sparse. But if you do jump on with me, I will spend as much time as I can with you during that playing time. So but anyways, I'm Wizard Ken. I hope this is helpful for you. I know I kind of went through things kind of fast. There's so much I could talk about on these tanks, and there's so much more detail I could go into, but the basic stuff that I'm trying to teach you is, play with higher tier players and learn how to deal with the bigger tanks. The next video will be more on how I destroy tanks and where to shoot certain tanks and this and that. So, but don't get frustrated with the game. Do what you can with the tanks you're on, and just keep pushing through, and hope to see you on the battlefield.